Hare, Hare Krishna. Are we live?
It says we are.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm Madhurya Leela Devi Dasi. On behalf of End of Life Care Alatra, I would like to welcome you to His Grace Shankar Prabhu's memorial. He left us on the auspicious day of Govardhan Puja, November 5th, 2021, during the Brahma Muhurta hour at 2:50 a.m., while listening to Srila Prabhupada and Ayendra Prabhu and looking at Srila Prabhupada's picture with beads in his hands. He was 73 years old. He had battled cancer for a number of years. He was a veteran who had been exposed to Agent Orange during his years of active duty. Thank you all. Thank you to all of you, especially Giriraj Swami and Mother Mukya and Rohini, and who's his daughter, and Sachi Devi and others, family who have joined us in remembering Shankar Prabhu with mixed feelings of sorrow and joy. Dhruva Maharaj Das and Samapriya Devi Dasi are going to be our hosts this evening. We would like for as many devotees as possible to speak. The Zoom meeting ID has been posted in the comments of the Facebook and YouTube channels, and you can log on that way. Just go to Zoom and type in the ID. That's all you need. Please raise your hand in the Zoom to indicate that you'd like to speak. Our host will call upon you. Please make sure you keep yourself muted unless you're speaking. The recording of this memorial will be available on the End of Life Care Alatra Facebook and YouTube channels, as well as the ISKCON Alatra Facebook and YouTube channels. So the agenda is that now we'll have a short slideshow with Jai Anila Premadana, and then our hosts will take over. So.
Jayanilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Jayanilo Premadana Karuna Prachur Heno Prabhu Kota Gela Acharya Thakur Kaha mora swarup rupa Kaha sanatan Kaha dasa rago nata patita pavan Kaha mora bhatta juga Kaha kabira Ekakale kota gela gaura natara আশানে কোটিব মাথা আনালে পাশিবা গৌরাঙ্গ গুণেরা নিধি কোথা গেলে পাব সে সব সঙ্গেরা সঙ্গে যে কৈল বেলা সে সঙ্গ না পাইয়া কান্দে Narottama Jaya Nila Prema Dhana Karuna Pracho হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর
হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর
যে আনিল প্রেমাদনা করুণা প্রচো
That was beautiful. Thank you very much, Madhurya Leela. Madhurya Leela put that together. Our format for this evening will be simply to go through the different people who came and knew Shank and want to speak about such a glorious life that he lived. We know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Rupa Goswami, that there are millions and trillions of living entities wandering throughout the universe. But one who is fortunate, Bhagavan Jeev, receives the seed of devotion to Lord Krishna from a bona fide spiritual master. And certainly Shank lived a life following that glorious path. What I'm going to do now is switch over to, and at intervals, switch over to different videos of Shank himself interspersed between the different people speaking. So give me a second to make adjustments on my computer so that I can get that video up. And then we'll start with the first speaker, and Samapriya will moderate who's speaking.
Very short. I've got it, folks. I've got cancer now, you know. It's I kind of knew it was going to come back, and it did, and I've
Can you all hear that?
Yes.
Yes, but it was stopped. The playing was stopped.
Okay, continue. Thank you.
Well, and it wasn't at the beginning.
No, it's not at the beginning.
been facing it, and I've been facing all the challenges and all the different things that have transpired, and this is what This is why I'm doing this videotape now, so because I'm alive, I got full clarity of what I'm saying. So with that, I want to first off give my greatest thanks. This family, Radhakun, PJ, Nadia, and Amar, this family, I can't express to all of you how much I appreciated them so much. And just allowing me to do the seva that has brought me to this level of consciousness where I see everything in a new light now. Now that I've said my prayers to Lord Krsna Devi, and he's given me my new message. So this is for everybody. My new message is compassion, love, and forgiveness.
So that was his beginning. This was filmed, or an interview. It was videoed at Bhadra and Ananga Manjari's house in July when Shank knew he was terminal. And you can see that was his beginning message, that he had some enlightenment, and we'll continue on with that and some other videos in between speakers. Samapriya, who's first?
First, I would like to express my condolences to everyone who loved Shankar. And it's sad because we will miss him, but it's glorious. It's glorious because he perfected his existence. So, and he achieved the goal of his human life. Thank you all for coming to this and helping celebrate this glorious life of a dear devotee of Srila Prabhupada. How auspicious is that, to leave your body on Govardhan Puja in Kartik? So he did achieve the goal of his life. During this month, we've had the opportunity to appreciate each other's bhakti, which in itself is very pleasing to Krishna. That is what we are doing here right now. In the temple, we can see many devotees offering flames to the Lord with love and devotion. In fact, until very recently, we saw Shankar join us in the same activity. I would like to call on another devotee who is very dear to Srila Prabhupada and to all the devotees. He served together with Shankar in Mumbai. Giriraj Maharaj, who wrote 2 books, one of them, Watering the Seed, the other, I Will Build You a Temple. And in that book is a picture of Shankar. And we have just seen it on the screen. Do you want to bring that picture up again so everyone can see? Trying to get the technique. I don't know if, okay, well, we did see it and it'll come. Here it is. No, there we go. There's Shankar, Brahmachari Shankar, right on the left, down to my left, your left, I guess. There he is. Okay, so we'll ask Maharaj to please share some of his love and appreciation of Shankar. Thank you.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity, for giving all of us this opportunity. As Srila Prabhupada said, when a Vaishnava departs, we feel simultaneously happy and sad. We feel happy because the Vaishnava has gone on to serve Krishna, but we feel sad because we'll miss the Vaishnava's association. I really treasured my time with Sanka Prabhu, first in Juhu during Srila Prabhupada's time, and later in Alachua. I loved him dearly. I would like to read an excerpt from my latest book, I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu Story, which I hope will make you and Sanka Prabhu happy. So I'll begin reading. After Narayan left, we didn't have a steady gardener for almost 2 years, until Shankadas arrived after Gaur Purnima in 1974. Quote, I didn't know how to do anything, Shanka later admitted, but I feel in my heart that I was blessed by Prabhupada to learn gardening. When I arrived, Chaitya Guru, the temple commander, took me to see Prabhupada. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, you have asked me to come to Bombay. What would you like me to do? I want you to plant a flower in every square inch of Hare Krishna land, he told me. And I offered my obeisances and left. The next day, I went back for clarification. And I asked Prabhupada, would you like me to grow vegetables? No, he said, our space is limited. It will be cheaper to buy them in the local market. What about fruits? Yes, guavas, chicus, bananas. Srila Prabhupada passed the garden every day on his morning walk. And sometime after Shanka's arrival, he noticed that there still weren't any fruits or flowers growing. Where are the flowers? He asked Shanka, but there never were any. He's just bluffing, Prabhupada commented. He doesn't know what he's doing, simply bluffing. Then one morning, after Prabhupada had returned from traveling in other places in India, he went out for his walk and saw that the garden was full of fruits and flowers. He was very pleased with Shanka's service. And thereafter, Shanka would offer Prabhupada a flower every day and became known as Prabhupada's flower boy. Shanka grew papayas, guavas, chicus, and strawberry bananas, small and pink inside and very sweet. Quote, one day at the airport when Prabhupada was about to depart for London, Shankar recalled, I brought a big load of ripe bananas and asked Prabhupada if he would like one. He opened his eyes wide and said, you grew these? Yes, I replied, I have grown them for you. He grabbed one, peeled it, and ate it. These are very good, he said. Now pass them out to everyone in the airport. And while I was distributing the bananas, one devotee jumped up on a table and started preaching. Prabhupada really appreciated when we grew our own food. So now I would like to relate a funny exchange between Sanka Prabhu and Srila Prabhupada. Sanka Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, what should we do if we see a UFO, unidentified flying object, coming toward us? And Prabhupada replied, run. Sanka Prabhu, I love you and I miss you. And I look forward to being reunited with you in Srila Prabhupada's service after I've completed what he and you want me to do here. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Maharaj. We can see that the love between devotees, this is what we treasure. This is what Srila Prabhupada gave us. Next, I'd like to call Shankar's daughter, Sachi Devi. Sachi, would you like to speak? You have to unmute, darling.
I'm his daughter, Rohini.
Yeah, Rohini is his daughter.
Oh, okay.
Sachi's
I'm Rohini's mother.
my mom.
Oh, well, look, you look so young. What do you know? Okay, Rohini, please speak. Thank you. And you can speak also if you like to after.
Thank you.
Rohini?
Thank you all so much for attending my father's online memorial. We were able to have a small in-person memorial and a Shraddha ceremony at Bhadra and Ananga Manjari's house, which was really, really beautiful. And I just want to thank the entire Sheth family for hosting the event, and Vishwambar for performing the yagya. It was so beautiful and moving, and I feel like it really set his soul free, and he any leftover anything, I just feel like he is in peace now. It was really it was a really moving ceremony, and I've never been part of a ceremony like that before, and it was just a beautiful experience. And for me and my brother and Sunil, my partner, was there also, and my best friend and Lindy. So it was really, really nice. But that being said, so over the past few years, I've grown much closer to my father than I was when I was younger, mostly through our shared love of cooking. And I've been able to help him cook at different times. I came down to Alachua for the Holy Name Festival. And then I came again with Sunil, and we, who I was so happy he got to meet him in his element, and he cooked, helped us. We cooked the Sunday feast together, the three of us, which was a really nice experience. But more personal experiences I had over the past few years have been every time, because I've been trying to teach myself how to cook Indian food, and mostly Indian food. And every single recipe I've sent pictures to my dad and asked him his advice, and what do you think about this, and does this have enough salt, does this have enough this, does it, and he gave me a lot of tips on especially dough, and how to make chapatis, how to make and how they have to be very, very thin, otherwise they won't puff up, and samosas, and how you have to add yogurt to the dough, otherwise it doesn't come out properly, and just so many little tiny details of how to cook. And that's been just so special to me, to have those direct communication with him about how to make prasadam, basically. And I've decided, since he passed away, I'm going to put two pictures in our kitchen. I want to put one of Prabhupada cooking, that famous Prabhupada cooking picture. And then I want to put one of my dad cooking. And I have a really nice one with him holding a plate full of his offering. And I think that way that they'll always be with me every time I cook, which is something that I plan on just getting more and more deeply involved in, because I really love it, and also it connects me to him, and I feel like his message was all about doing seva and offering food to other people, and I want to continue with that. And I am really hoping that his third cookbook can be printed. I don't know all the details of where the recipes are. I know a couple people at the memorial had mentioned they knew, but I really want to make sure that does happen, because that bulk cookbook is so useful for temples. And so that's one of my goals for probably next year, realistically. And then I also wanted to share one final story, which my father was always talking about Yogeshwara and the supreme mystic, and how he works in all these magical ways and does all these mystical things. And Sunil and I had an experience actually of something kind of mystical, because we were in California when we got the call that my father had passed away, and we happened to be, it was on Govardhan Puja in early morning, and we were going to the Laguna Beach temple that morning or that afternoon. And so we went and we offered prayers and tried to, connect with my dad in some spiritual way because we were there. And I wasn't aware that he had committed fully to ISKCON in Laguna Beach at the time. But then I found out later that that was the temple that he actually finally joined. He had gone to other temples, but Laguna Beach was the one where he came and said, I am full-time joining the temple. And that's where he learned how to cook. That's where he started washing pots. And that was like the very beginning when he devoted his life to Prabhupada. And I had no idea. But then I ended up there the day he passed away, going in and thinking of him. And I went in front of the Prabhupada Murti and was, praying to that Prabhupada Murti to, please take care of my father. And then a few days later, I saw a video that someone had made, or an interview, and he said that he had joined the temple there. So I think that that was Yogeshwara, the supreme mystic, working his magic. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Rohini. You have a very wonderful family, and it looks like you're following in your father's footsteps. So please continue to cook for Krishna. You're very fortunate. Thank you. That was very beautiful. Sachi, would you like to say something?
I can say a little bit. Thank you. I was married to Shanka for about 10 years, and we have 3 children together. Rohini being the oldest, and I think the most like her father in terms of she can take on just about any project and with full force and dynamism and make it happen.
Right.
And I've always been completely amazed by Rohini's ability to just take something up that she really has no prior knowledge of, become very informed about it, do intensive research, and then carry out a project related to that research. And that's very much Shanka. My years with Shanka were rough. They were not easy. They were very austere. We lived in at New Varshana in Colorado for several years. And my first 2 kids were born there, Rohini and Shamananda. And I guess it was a little bit like India. We had no running water. We had no toilets nearby. It was very austere. So that was difficult. But I think the most difficult thing was family life for Shanka was not easy, living with a family. He had a rough upbringing himself, and I think it brought back memories of, a difficult childhood that he lived through. He had so much to overcome, and he has absolutely amazed me at his ability to face what I would consider to be unsurmountable challenges and come out glorious. So I'm very proud of Shanka. We have not been in regular contact over the years, but I have spoken to him here and there a few different times, and spoke to him at length in July of this past summer, and reassured him that in spite of the fact that the Northeast is not my favorite place to live, I will remain there as long as his kids are there and my grandkids, in close contact with the kids always, because that's the greatest service I can do for him. And it's absolutely my service to Prabhupada and to Krishna.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very kind of you to share that with us, to help us know more about Shanka. Is your son here present? I didn't see him on.
No, Shamananda he came for the memorial Um,
I see.
on Sunday and Monday, he was there. And
Okay.
he was there for about a week in August as well. My
I see.
youngest son, Abai Charan, does not really know Shankar.
I see.
So they were not very connected.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, both of you. That was really beautiful and kind of you and very brave of you to share that with us. Appreciate that. I'd like to hear from Mukhya now. Unmute yourself, Mukhya.
Unmuted. Okay.
Good.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sama and Dhruva, for hosting this. And I was really happy to hear both Rohini and her mom speak about Shankar and get into a little bit of their personal connection with him. I've known Shankar since I came to Alachua to live in 2007, and we've been friends ever since because we were both kitchen people, and I kind of was running the kitchen all these years, and Shankar was cooking in there. So we were very connected. And then as I started to manage the kitchen and he was doing the gardens and the shopping and cooking, we just became very, very good friends. And every single week, Shankar and I would meet and we would talk about what was going to be cooked that week and what vegetables we needed, what other things we needed. He taught me a lot about quantities. You know, I really learned how to cook for 600, 700, 1,000 people because he and I talked it through every single week. And during those talks, he would get into very personal things that were going on with him. He was very childlike and very innocent. At least that's how it appeared. I have a feeling that there was a lot of real deep spiritual realization there that made him appear so childlike. But he was very open about things. And so the more I learned about his life, the more I was really amazed and in awe of him, because I know he did have a lot to overcome from his childhood. When he finally left home, he went into the Vietnam War. I mean, that was horrifying for him. He had severe post-traumatic stress disorder from both his childhood and the war. And he really worked to overcome this. He was very dedicated to his therapy treatments with his, psychotherapists at the VA, and he became good friends with them. All the people in the VA learned, knew of him. They loved him. He brought them prasadam. He offered to do kind of group therapies there for other soldiers because they were so amazed at how good Shankar's outlook on life was. Even they could recognize that. So, but just as a devotee friend, he meant the world to me. He was always giving me blessings. And, I took care of my parents for the last 2 years. So every time we text each other, what are you cooking? What do you want? What do you, because I was managing the temple, but also going back and forth to my parents. And he texts me and he goes, blessings for your father. And don't worry about a thing. He'd always say to me, don't worry about anything in the kitchen. I'll take care of all of it. And as soon as someone says to me, don't worry, I'll take care of it, like all the stress leaves my body. I just accept it and believe it. And he did. He really wanted me to not worry about things and he helped me so much taking care of important things that went on in our temple. I was really sorry that we weren't able to have like one of the in-person memorials and feasts for Shankar, because every devotee in the community would have come out. He had such a connection with so many people. He loved younger people because he was younger in heart. So people could relate to him. He had great connections with younger generations. And many times over the years, we would put out, the word, please come and learn to cook from, the best, learn to cook from these experienced devotees who have cooked for not hundreds, but, many, many years. And little groups would come and learn to cook from him. And then he would honestly feel like, why aren't they continuing? Like, why aren't people taking this up? He loved the service so much. I know he really loved Radhakund because of the prasadam distribution she was doing, and he got to help her with that. And that meant a lot to him. And it really, it opened up a new world for him. More people got to know him from the outside world as well as the devotee world. And he really enjoyed that a lot. He was very proud of his children. He talked to me about his children a lot. And whenever he'd go for a visit, which was like in the last few years, I think once a year he'd come to visit the family. And he'd always tell, he'd just brag about them. My son is doing this. My daughter's making jewelry. It's a beautiful jewelry. And he'd go on. And I was so pleased, that he had this connection, because I just didn't picture Shanka as a parent or, a family man. So I loved hearing about this and, seeing this part of his life. And actually, when I read Giriraj Swami's book about Juhu and I saw the picture of Shanka, I was like, oh, he was young once. He looked like this once. So I was happy. I forget what we were like when we were younger. And I could see Shanka was very serious in that picture, actually. And he looked very grave. But anyway, I want to also say from my deepest heart, thank you to Hamsa and his family, including his parents who took Shanka in when Shanka was diagnosed as terminal, because he'd had cancer for years. And that was another thing. I mean, he never complained. He lived with, prostate cancer. Even if you're not dying from it, it's not easy. The medication for it gives you a lot of symptoms, different kinds of symptoms. And Shanka had to live with that. And he never complained. He came in and did his service every week. And I know he was suffering some of the results of some of the medicines they were giving him. So that was something else that I just was very inspired by. But when he knew that when the VA released him because they couldn't treat him any longer. So then we knew that the days were numbered. So we moved him from where he was living into a different ashram, a bigger room, and he got to, fix it up the way he wanted and so forth. I had people come in and clean it periodically. But after a month or so, maybe, we knew this wasn't tenable, because there were men living in the ashram who had lives and service, and they couldn't, it just wasn't compatible with someone who was having a lot of people coming in and out every day, including nurses and women, to chant with him and read to him and so forth. So Hamsa just took over, and he's brought Shanka to his home where he could be more peaceful, and people could come and go that wanted to see him and have kirtan in the evening if they wanted to do that. And of course, Hamsa's a nurse, so that was very important actually too. So I'm so very grateful that Hamsa stepped forward. And I think Hamsa and Shanka met at the VA. So this was another person that didn't know Shanka before, who he just befriended. And to know Shanka is to love him. I don't know what else to say. He was non-envious, and he was just an open heart. I used to say, if you come in the kitchen and help with the Sunday feast, Shanka will tell you what to do and he'll hug you, because that's what he did. He loved to hug everybody. And I think he passed on Govardhan Puja, so that was a Friday. And the Sunday prior, he was at the Sunday feast, and I was standing at the back of the temple room. He saw me, so he said, come. And so I came out, and he goes, I just want to tell you, it's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And then he gave me a big hug. So I thought, yeah, he's going to be going soon. I could just tell, and I mean, obviously he was sick, and I hated seeing him suffer. So I knew this would be a relief of a kind, but somehow it's final, when it's final, it's final. So yes, I will always miss him. I cook the Sunday feast now because I don't have anyone else to cook it. And every time I do, I'm like, Shanka, this is for you. So this was a great friendship in my life, and I will always cherish it. And I have learned a lot from Shanka over these years. So thank you to him so much. And he's definitely with Prabhupada right now. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Milky. That was so beautiful. This is so nice to see the different relationships that he had with devotees. And that sounds like a really special one. You did share something that you both love to do, a service that is very difficult, but kind of like the mother and father of everyone, giving food, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Right. Next, I'd like to, Damayanti, would you like to speak?
Just one moment before we continue. Hearing Mukhya speak about the difficulties that Shank had, and also his wife, his partner, speaking about his difficult upbringing. This morning, I watched hours of video with Shank, and this particular clip reveals his processing, how if something difficult comes into his life, he dealt with it.
And the deal was, and this was way back in '74, I had lost my faith. I really did. I lost my faith in Krishna consciousness. I just couldn't, the whole situation there in Bombay and everything, I kind of like lost my faith. So I was reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it was talking about a story of Lord Indra and the curse that he was trying to give to 3 different living entities in the creation. And the female energy, the women, chose to be the first ones in line to take their boon, and then have to suffer their curse. The trees were the third ones to take it, and this is where I made the deal with Krishna. I heard that the trees took the curse from Lord Indra, and as a result of that, the trees asked for the boon of taking a branch, breaking off a branch, putting it in the ground, and then it grows into a tree. Like, oh no, this can't be true, you know, forget it. And so I went in front of Radha Rasa Bihari with folded hands on my knees, and I prayed to Krishna and Radha Rasa Bihari, and I said, I'm going to make a deal with you, okay? I've lost my faith. I don't believe these scriptures. I think this is all something to dealing with the CIA, and it's all something to trick me up. I don't have the faith, but I will do this deal with you, and that deal is that if I take branches from all these trees and I plant them in the ground and they grow into trees, I swear I will open up my heart to you, and I will accept the scriptures and what anything that Prabhupada says is the absolute gospel. Okay, I left it at that. I left it at that. And then the amazing thing happened. So I did it, and you can ask anybody in 1974 who was in the Juhu property, living there as a devotee. I was putting branches all over Juhu, everywhere. There was a little space. I would dig a hole, put manure, put the plant on a 45-degree angle, cut it and everything perfectly, put it in there, and then I watered it. And all I did was put fresh cow. All I did was use composted cow manure and water and the red clay dirt that was there in the Juhu property. And I was amazed because 80, 90% of all the branches that I planted miraculously grew branches and started growing into new trees. So then I went into the temple and I said to Radha Rasa Bihari, so I now accept Prabhupada and the scriptures. And so then actually that's when I became a devotee, and that's actually when I really surrendered. Way back then in '74, not all my other stories, you know, but you know, that's kind of like the real pinnacle of when I really developed the faith that there was a Supreme Lord and that he was our Father, ever well-wisher, and Srila Prabhupada was his knight in shining armor there, you know, and he's giving us love of God and a way to get out of this material world that stumped the world. The whole world was stumped.
Wow.
Jai.
Thank you. Jai Shankar. That's till the last breath. Wonderful enthusiasm for Krishna. So Damayanti, can you speak something for us about Shankar? You have to unmute yourself.
All right. Yeah, that was beautiful. That was such a nice, sweet pastime of Shankar. Yeah, so I got to see. I knew him a little bit. I once helped in the temple kitchen for a Sunday feast, and it was just beautiful to watch him and engage people so expertly, and see all the love while he was cooking. And then I got to know him much better since August. We would take him to the springs, we took him to the ocean, and he ended up living with my son and then in our home. And so I saw his interactions with all the people who came to visit and how much love he had. And it was so sweet. I once took him just to, he had a lot of energy for somebody who was dying. It's hard to keep up with him. He was always wanting to, go places and do things. And then his family came to visit, that he hadn't seen in 50 years, who thought he was dead. And that was an interesting experience. And then it went quite well. So so there's so many people coming and going and things he was doing. And so I happened to just take him to, he was wanting to go somewhere. So I took him to the Noon Artik, and there was a wedding going on that I didn't know about. And then somebody was talking to me, and I went over to the wedding. He hugged every single person at that wedding. He just lined up and just hugged everybody. He's just, so he also, one little thing that happened was, sometimes because of the brain cancer and the medications and stuff, he didn't know, he wouldn't forget things, and he wouldn't know what day it was. So he thought Radhastami had already been over for a couple of weeks, but he thought, we had talked about this Rath Yatra at Clearwater, and he wanted to go, but it was a long drive, and we didn't think it was such a good idea. So then he started thinking it was Radhastami. And then he decided he wanted to make plum chutney, and he had Hans get some plums, and then he said they weren't enough. And then I went and got more plums, and he made this huge pot of plum chutney. And he's like, I need this and rose water and this and that. And so there was a kirtan at Hans's house that night, and he served everybody there. He put a little plum chutney on a cracker, and he gave it to everybody. He had a little glove on, and because of COVID and all that. But anyway, it was really sweet seeing him handing that cracker to everybody. And the interactions with my grandchildren, like my grandson would give him a rock, and he'd like draw a little smiley face on it and give it to him, and he'd be just, and then they would just have so much little exchanges with both of them. And he would call me grandma because the grandkids call me grandma. And it's just really, he was just like part of the family. It was really sweet. And it was, I want to just talk about, I don't know if anyone heard about the kirtan on the Wednesday night before he left his body. He was at this point, he had slept the whole entire day. And we didn't know if he'd be, but we told him there's a kirtan. He like jumped up, like not jumped up, but he was like ready. He wanted to go to kirtan. So I think we even took him in the wheelchair because he was pretty weak at this point. And we brought him to kirtan, and he didn't want the kirtan to end. It was crazy. Like if it started dying down, he would just start clapping. And at one point he stood up and tried to dance. And it was an amazing kirtan. That kirtan was so, so wild. And he was clinging to his beads and putting his arms up in the air. And then he leaned over and had said something like he wanted to say something, and he just said Hare Krishna in my ear. It was so clear, and it was just a really nice exchange. And he really enjoyed that. That was his last really big kirtan. And after that, he continued to hear kirtan, but he didn't participate as much in the kirtan. But we had a lot of kirtans outside and Damodarasika prayers, and he really loved it. Having so many people having kirtan. Anyway, I don't know if anyone has anything else. I'm trying to, every single day he thanked me and thanked for having that he could stay with us. And every day I thanked him that, I'm so happy that you're here. We're so happy to have you here.
Would Jai Gopal like to speak?
He's not here right now. I'm not sure.
He's not. And Hums is not. He's too shy to speak.
He said, I don't know. He said he was going to go and take his computer and go on and in San Felipe. He got his ashes back today, And he said, I really need to get out of the house right now. And so
Yeah,
he went
sure.
to the park that he used to go to. And so I think he might be on. He said he was going to just go there and go on instead of
Interesting.
here. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. That was beautiful. You were very fortunate to have that opportunity.
I was so
to
fortunate. I was-
Shankar is an experience. I think all
It
devotees
is.
are an experience, right? But Shankar was an experience of an experience. Thank you
And
so much.
yes, and my grandchildren got such an experience too. It was,
Oh, I'm
it was
sure.
so
Oh, whoa.
interesting.
That is beautiful. Thank you. So next we'd like to hear from Vishvambar. Are you there, Vishy?
Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Haribol, sweetie. Could you tell us your realizations and affection and love for Shankar?
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. My respects to all of Shankar's dear God brothers and God sisters and all of our God family. Thank you for allowing me to speak a few words in his glorification. Oh no.
We can still hear you.
You can hear me, okay.
And
okay,
see you,
okay.
and see you
All right.
nicely. There you are.
Okay. So yeah, Mother Damayanti was just speaking about the kirtans, and of course, Shankar, the day that he found, that day that by the time he found out he was terminal, we all knew he had been sick for a long time. He was so kind to the second and third generation. He really saw, he really experienced like Kali Yuga, in all ways in his life, through in his childhood, being in the war, dealing with addiction. He really saw the lowest of the low of humanity. And at the same time, I think that because of his experiences, he also had no judgment of people. So he accepted people wherever they were at, completely where they were at. And because of that, I think that he endeared himself to many of our generation, many of my generation. By the way, check out this background right here. This is real. This is not fake right now. This is the sun is setting behind me in the park. And anyways, so he endeared himself to so many of our generation, and then our children took to him, Uncle Shankar, and they would just go and hug him, and it was such sweet interactions that we had. I'm kind of jokingly thinking that whenever we would see Shankar, it was like at least half an hour you ended up hanging out with him. And so when it's been like a series of, we were doing kirtans for him, as many evenings as we could, sometimes for 2 to 3 hours, sometimes, like that. And it was like, he took up a lot of our energy and a lot of our time. And I'm kind of joking that, yesterday I went to his cremation. The day before was his Shraddha ceremony. The day before was a memorial now. So with love, I say, Shankar, you're really keeping us busy. You're really keeping us engaged in Krishna consciousnness, actually, and glorifying you. So I'm grateful to you. So he really, I just, a few more things I want to say, that he, as Mother Mukhya said, he did a lot of processing. He took his therapies very seriously, and he did that process. And at the same time, I feel like Krishna really expedited the process for him at the end there. The day that he was terminal, he came up to me and said, Vish, you need to be doing kirtan. Like, you got to get the crew there. We need to roll. He would always say that. We need to roll together. We need to roll in the holy name. And so, we were doing as many kirtans as we could. If there was kirtan somewhere else, we invited him. We tried to show up. And in the process of him gradually deteriorating, we also saw that he processed many things, like Damayanti said his parents, his relationship with his father, which was very traumatic for him. His brother and sister showed up, and they brought like a picture album of his childhood. And he had not seen a picture of his father in over 50 years. He had completely removed himself from that association. And then he opened the album one day and saw this picture, and it brought back so much. And I went and visited him the next day, and he was like, I'm not doing good. Like, all these things are coming up from my childhood and my experiences. And then he just had this, Krishna gave him the intelligence and the courage to deal with,
Just keep talking, Dasi.
sorry. Krishna gave him the intelligence and the courage to deal with these situations where he did a ceremony, and he took the picture, and he, and he did a ceremony where he released that, release the that pain and that suffering. Similarly, I just want to say one more thing. He had just trauma with, say, women, and his experiences with women, and it had weighed very heavily on him. But he, at some point he came up to me and said, Vish, I'm not feeling that anymore. I'm not feeling that pain. I'm not feeling that lust even anymore. Like, I'm feeling forgiveness. I'm feeling compassion. His motto in the end, which he felt that through some devotees, Nrsingadev and Prahlad Maharaj spoke to him on Nrsinga Chaturdasi and told him that you have to live with forgiveness and love and compassion. And he really took that to heart, although he was a warrior and a soldier, and he wanted to stand up for those that had been wronged. He brought forgiveness into his heart. And basically, I just want to say that at the very end there, he really wanted us to be in kirtan with him. And we showed up, and we were there many days at a time. And even the night that he was passing, I really wanted to be there. I had gone to do a program somewhere else, and we didn't know that he was passing because he was so peaceful. And we knew it was coming, but we didn't know it was coming right then. And at the very end there, no one was with him. Even Hans, who had been with him practically 24 hours, 7 days a week for months and months, even Hans was out of the room at that time. And I really felt like that was his moment where he was not dependent on anyone. He had only depended on Krishna. And because he only depended on Krishna in those last few months, Krishna provided everything for him through the temple, through the wonderful family that took care of him, through everybody. My father paid for his cremation. Like everybody pitched in and loved him and wanted to serve him. So, thank you all for glorifying him. And, we look forward to hearing more of his glories. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Beautiful
you, Dasi.
sunset. There's the full moon behind us. I'm sure Shankar is cooking. He had to go back to cook the Govardhan Puja feast that day. Haribo.
And thank you very much. And thank your family, Vishy, for putting on such a wonderful memorial for Shankar. That was very over the top beautiful. Thank you and your whole family. Next, we're going to hear a recording from Soma Prabhu, who couldn't be here.
Hey, I'm just going to go grab my shoes. I think my shoes are there.
Okay, mute yourself, Vishy.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, accept my humble obeisances. I just wanted to say some glorification of Sanka Prabhu, who was a very great soul, did lots of service for Srila Prabhupada throughout his life. I actually met Shankar in Boston in 1971. I believe it was maybe the early spring. He was living out in Western Massachusetts, and this devotee, Karunamaya, was preaching out there, and he brought Sanka and his brother to the Boston Temple. And I remember Karunamoya introducing me to him and his brother. and he was saying how nice they were. He was a Vietnam vet, and back in like early 1971, the Vietnam War was still going on, and it was a very unpopular war. Anyways, with talking with him, we found out that he was going out to California, and he was going to join the temple out there. And after, he was just there that one day in Boston that I remember him. And after that, I didn't see him for many, many years until 2006 or 7 or something in New Vrindavan. But because I was living in New Vrindavan, and he was there as the cook, and he did a lot of cooking for the devotees, and especially for the festivals, and he was a very good Sunday feast cook. And of course, as a devotee, I heard about him a few times, just that he was Prabhupada's flower boy in Bombay. And of course, he tells those stories, wonderful stories of his relationship with Srila Prabhupada, very loving exchanges, and they're very warming to the heart to hear about how Srila Prabhupada dealt with him. He was very fortunate in that way. And of course, he did so much service here in New Raman Reti. He was a cook for many years, and everybody who came in contact with him really, just loved his devotional attitude and his demeanor. He was so nice with people. Of course, we miss him very much, but we're also glad that he has gone back to be with Srila Prabhupada in the spiritual world, and to continue his service to Srila Prabhupada. So that's what when I think of Sanka, I remember him most, is that he was so dedicated to serving Srila Prabhupada. That was his desire, and I'm sure Krishna is fulfilling his desire. So anyways, thank you very much for letting me just offer a few small praises of Sanka Prabhu. I'm really anxious to hear everyone else speak about him, and I won't be able to be on the Zoom class, but I will definitely listen to it later. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That was Soma. Thank you. Ambarish Prabhu, are you here with us? Would you like to say something? Glorifying your dear God brother. Ambarish? Okay, well, we'll go on.
Does he have to unmute? Or is he not there?
Ambarish, would you unmute? I don't know if he's... No, I think he walked out of the room. We'll get him later.
I'm here. I'm here.
He's here. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, there you go.
Sorry. I had to go like turn the lights on in our temple room.
Okay.
Anyway, Hare Krishna, Dandavat to everybody, Dandavat to Shankar Prabhu. So happy to be here to hear all these glorifications, because I didn't know Shankar for very, very many years. Swaha and I met him when we came to, after we had been in Alachua. But we got to know him in a hurry because, obviously he was a very friendly person. He and I both like to hug. And this pandemic has put a damper on all the hugging going on. So we've had to cut back seriously on that. But, I admire him so much. He was in a lot of different places and places that I had been, like Hawaii and Mayapur, but I really didn't get to see him until I came to Alachua, and I would see him in the kitchen. And he came into the temple room one day, 6 months ago or a year ago, and he said, I'm battling 4 types of cancer. And I'd never heard about any of his health problems because he wasn't somebody who went around talking about it all the time. So I was very surprised. And but his attitude was so wonderful. And Swaha and I went to visit him a few days before he passed, and he was very peaceful. And he said, I said, are you comfortable? He said, yes, I'm very comfortable. And he was being well taken care of at the house he was staying at. And I'm sure that his future is very, very bright. And Prabhupada is welcoming him into his service, his eternal service in the lotus, under the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And I used to laugh so much when he shared at Prabhupada memorial ceremonies, and he would share about how Prabhupada would chastise him. And I never had that experience because Prabhupada knew I was like really, I would be shattered, you know, but Shankar would share about how, you know, Srila Prabhupada would really rake him over the coals over certain things, you know, and one day, I was reading on his biography, you know, he was really blown out and he stopped doing his service of bringing Prabhupada a flower every day and making him a garland. And Prabhupada immediately noticed it, said, where is my flower boy? So Prabhupada loved him, and I'm sure that Shankar is at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And he was an example to me, you know. And he went through so many material ups and downs and trials and tribulations, you know, but he was always positive, always loving, forgiving. And, you know, he was someone to really be admired. So I was very privileged to have been, you know, maybe not close friends, but friends, certainly, since the time we were living here in North Florida. So very grateful for that opportunity. And I'm grateful to be here tonight to listen to everybody. Thank you very much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you, Ambarish Prabhu. Before we see another video, what you said reminded me of when Shankar would deliver these horrific memorials about how Srila Prabhupada really chastised him, to the point of one year, before he went on to speak, I took him aside. I said, please do me a favor. I'm worried about how the new people means everyone but us old people. I was thinking they wouldn't understand this kind of relationship, but actually, so then he lightened up. Actually, he did. He lightened up. But now I realize how blessed he was to be beaten and chastised. Even Mahavishnu Advaita Acharya wanted to be chastised by Lord Chaitanya. So
yes,
the great mercy that he had, so that Prabhupada loved him so much that he would chastise him.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now we're going to have a video, another video of Shankar.
In Juhu, in 73, when I got there, we had a small temple. Because we were living very austere. We can't believe how austere we were living. Anyways, there was this half-moon fence in front of the temple. And inside this fence, there were 14 or 15 Tulsi Devis growing. So one day in the morning, I wasn't aware that the Tulsis were dying. So anyways, one day in the morning walk, Srila Prabhupada asked me, the Tulsis are dying. Why are the Tulsis dying? And I said, I don't know. And I said, I will do some research. So that day I went over to the Tulsis and I started digging around, and I found the termites were eating the roots, and there were ants all around her and everything. So the next morning on the morning walk, I told Srila Prabhupada that the ants and the termites were eating at the roots. And Srila Prabhupada said, you take 1 part lime, 1 part sulfur, and you mix it with 10 parts of water. You sprinkle it all around Tulsi Devi, and the ants will go away. So I started to do that, and then Prabhupada went on his world tour. But while he was gone, all the Tulsis died. So I made some nice beads for myself. I took the fence down, and now there was only dirt there. You know, the Tulsis that were there for the deities, Rasa Rasa Bihari, were gone. So then Prabhupada came back from his world tour, and it was during Guru Puja. I remember it was the 5 ghee lamps, so we were doing the 5 ghee lamps. So I walked up to Srila Prabhupada and gave him his flower, and he said, where are the Tulsis? And I said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, I tried to save them, but, you know, they all left the planet. So I just immediately offered my obeisances and kind of slithered out of the temple without getting chastised in the middle of Guru Puja. So then the next morning, the morning walk was coming out, and Srila Prabhupada stops everybody in front of the big garden that I had done, and I had 54 Tulsi Devis growing in there. Well, Srila Prabhupada asked me, how are these Tulsis doing? I said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, they're doing very well. There's all these spider mites and aphids and bugs crawling all over. And he said, you leave the insects alone. Let them eat as much as they want. Who are you to kill them?
Thank you again. Thank you again, Shankar. Sesha, would you like to speak? Are you there? Sesha Prabhu?
Yes, I'm here.
You want to show your noble face?
Okay. Hare Krishna.
There you are. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Manchikapachuga Shakya Vasuni Vyamasha. Patidanam Pavane Vaishnava Namo Namaha. This is such a wonderful program and glorification of Shankar Prabhu. I don't think that I've ever been to a ceremony where a devotee is glorified in so many nice ways by so many different types of devotees, young, old, everything. Everyone's coming out tonight to glorify Shankar Prabhu, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to sit and hear the glorification of such a devotee as Shankar Prabhu. So I don't want to take up time for others, just like Samapriya Prabhu was saying, I like to hear what others have to say. But there's one image that has been shown tonight in the videos of Shankar Prabhu and is burned in my mind, and I'll always remember about him, is that when he came up to you, he opened his arms wide like that. You recall seeing it in the videos tonight. He opened his eyes wide, his arms wide, even his fingers were opened wide. And he loved to hug you. He would come up and give you a big hug. That was often the only thing we said to each other for weeks at a time in the temple. When he would come in the temple, he would hug me, I would hug him, and then we'd go our separate ways. But that's characteristic of Shankar to me, that open arm ready to embrace devotees, to embrace service, to embrace Krishna's lotus feet, and embrace Prabhupada's lotus feet. That's how I always remember him. And the program, as I said, this is a wonderful, wonderful glorification of Shankar. So thank everyone who put it together and for taking part.
Thank you, Sesha. That was beautiful and heartfelt. And we can see one time Parvati asked Lord Shiva, what is the greatest worship? We all know this story. And he said, the greatest worship is the worship of Vishnu. And he said, actually, even greater than that is the worship of a devotee. And we're very fortunate we can engage in the greatest worship by glorifying and appreciating each other. And this is actually due to the Madhurya Leela's. This is her little baby. This is what she wanted to do, that we could spend some time appreciating each other. We do it when when some of us have gone, then we start to glorify each other. But it's a very wonderful, we're very fortunate. We have a wonderful practice. We have a wonderful family, Krishna's family, and we have to love each other. We're all different, that's for sure. Shankar was very different, but we all are very different, and just love each other. That's what we have to show the world, that we're all in Krishna's family. How about Trishit? Would you like to speak? And your husband, you've been working in the kitchen and organizing the distribution of the prasadam lately. And so you have a direct connection with Shankar. Would you like to say something? Both of you? Hare Krishna. You have to speak loud. Unmute.
Closer.
There you go.
I want to appreciate Shankar Prabhu, kindness and humility and authenticity. We first met him 2006. We were doing Bhakti Shastri in New Vrindavan, and he was the cook there. but we got really close to him a few years ago.
Wait,
And
wait.
Actually, it was Govardhan Puja that I got to speak with him, and I asked for his blessing, and we ended up him hugging me and walking around Govardhan Hill, and he quoted this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Matirna Krishna, and he said, that's how I bless people. And then 2-3 years ago, I got to start doing service together with him. I was managing Krishna lunch at UF for many years, and the last 3 years, I started helping in Alachua. And in my experience, people who cook are like artists. It's challenging to give them feedback, and they really enjoy what they are doing. So I was a little bit nervous. And I found Shankar Prabhu to be the most humble, easy, and fun person to work with. And usually I would tell him how much people would love his cooking, and sometimes I would have to mention something, and he would jump and say, I'm sorry about this, and that will not happen again. He had this deep humility that I think came from a deep spiritual understanding that I was always inspired. Sometimes it wasn't even him. I would just say I didn't have enough pasta today, and he would say, I'm sorry, I cut in cooking this much of pasta. I didn't know, next time we'll have more. So his deep humility and his service attitude. I started helping with the Sunday feast during the pandemic, and it was challenging. Suddenly we had a lot of more prasadam to cook. Instead of 300 people, it started to be 500-600 people, and Shankar was happy. And that's something I was always appreciating. He was happy to do more and cook more and serve more. And he was excited. He was like a young boy coming to the kitchen and say, how did it go? Sometimes he would say, you think it's enough rice? And I was like, I'm not sure. And I can put a pot on the stove while we are serving. He was cooking a little bit more just to make sure everyone will get enough prasadam, and it was really such a privilege to be with him in the kitchen. And his authenticity, we got to speak and connect, and he was always very vulnerable and authentic in the way he was sharing things with me and other people. He was very kind to me in so many ways. Few weeks ago, quite a few weeks ago, he was already sick, and I was doing the Sunday feast and then going to visit him. And I heard he's not doing well, so I was really surprised. Both of us were in the kitchen planning to go visit him, and he comes inside the kitchen and he said, I want to give you something. And I was like, how are you feeling? How are you? He said, come with me. And he took us to his room, and he was telling us, you have to choose a picture and you have to choose a book. And I would see all the pictures in his room had different names of different devotees that he was planning so carefully how to give everyone something that he will still be part of us, and a big part. So we ended up getting a picture and a book, and it was just amazing for me. Someone in his condition, and he was thinking about us and coming to find us to give us something. I asked him what was his favorite service, and he said I was gardening and I was cooking. I think cooking what I was gardening would be my service that I would love the most. And we had a lot of times, also funny moments. One time I told him I saw these 40 years to Vrindavan, and he was speaking there and sharing memories. And I said, it's inspiring for young people like me. And he looked at me and he said, you're not young. You may be young in your spirit, but you're not young. And we were laughing. So I really grateful to have the privilege to do service with him and feel inspired. So many people life he touched. I told him one time, he used to cook like a big pot of halava for Krishna lunch. And at a certain point, I noticed that I have plenty of halava. So I started putting it in small cups and would give samples to people, take something called halava. And after some time, Shankar halava became so famous that people would come and say, I don't have time to eat lunch. Can I just get a cup of halava? And people will cross the whole campus just to get a piece of his halava. And I shared it with him, and he turned, at that time, Mohini was in the room, and he turned to Mohini and he said, you see, I will be famous for all the prashadam I distributed. And
it's true. He is famous.
Touched so many people's hearts with his halava, and he loved it. He saw one time I sent a picture of this 4-year-old boy that came to Krishna lunch and was eating his halava, and he said, this boy is so fortunate, he's getting to eat Krishna prasadam, and he was so proud of himself.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Does your wife have something to say now? Would you like to speak something?
I didn't know Sanka very well. In fact, we would come and
We can't hear you, darling. We can't.
they would come and literally live at that time.
There's some. I think there's something wrong with the sound, because unless someone else can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I think you have to turn the microphone or the computer a little bit towards you.
And come closer, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know Shankar very well. We usually would come to the kitchen, and that was the time that he would leave. But we did have a little kind of ongoing exchange. When we'd come, he would always make the offering, the offering plate for the deities. And so we had to cross from the kitchen to the pujari room, and he would always ask me to open the door. So I would always open the door. That was my service to him when he would come, and I would open the door for him for the pujari room. And so that was really sweet, kind of like I knew when I come, I already went ahead and get ready just to open the door.
That's very sweet. Serving a devotee. Dasanu, dasanu, dasa. Very, very wonderful. Thank you both. You're very, very special, because you are entering into the mood of Shankar by distributing prasadam. Thank you. Divyanga, are you there, Prabhu? I saw you were here at one point. Seems like there he is. Please speak to us about the glories of Shankar and how much you loved him.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Please accept my obeisances, glories to Prabhupada. Shankar was a dear friend of mine. He always made me laugh. And one of the funniest things that he told me is the day he joined in Laguna. This was after the Boston Leela. And he walks up to the temple, and he had gone to the farmer's market and bought a big box of organic fruits and vegetables. And when he walked up with it, Swarup Damodar took him to Prabhupada, and he said, look, Prabhupada, he's grown all these organic vegetables and fruits for you. The truth was, he bought them at the market. He said he never grew in his life. And Prabhupada said, very good, you can go to Mayapur and be in charge of the gardens. So that's what happened to Shankar. He went to India, he went to Mayapur, and when he got there, they said, so you're the expert gardener? And he said, well, actually, he told Jayapataka Maharaj, he said, actually, I'm not a gardener at all. That's how that started. That's how his whole gardening Leela started. But I would come back from Sankirtan on Sundays, and he would come out and he would say, Dev, Yogeshwar has helped me make the feast. Please come in. And he'd take me in the kitchen, and he'd open up the pot and say, look, I made this, I made this, I made this. And he was like in ecstasy when he was doing his cooking service. And the most amazing thing about his relationship with Prabhupada is that Prabhupada always badgered him. They had this really unique relationship that even the close devotees around Prabhupada didn't really have that kind of thing. That just like he told him, he said, how much ghee are you using when he was cooking in Bombay? And he told him 1 kilo a week. And Prabhupada said, you don't know how to cook, cut it in half. And then a couple of days went by, and on the morning walk, same thing. He said, how much ghee are you using? And he said, well, I've cut it in half, Srila Prabhupada. And he said, you don't know how to cook. And then when he did the gardening, and the Tulsi thing was a real disaster for him at first. And Prabhupada told him, he said, actually, you're a pretty good cook, but you're a lousy gardener. And Shank, one time, he said he would usually just give him a flower, but he made a garland. But the garland was so small that it stuck, and when Prabhupada put it on, it was on his head. And Prabhupada wore that garland doing the entire Guru Puja on his head, which, Shankar was just so thrilled, that Prabhupada accepted his funny garland that didn't even go over his head. But Prabhupada really must have loved Shankar, because he never, ever let him off the hook. Every time he would talk to me, I'd say, tell me something about Prabhupada, because we didn't get that kind of, nobody, even Shuta Kirti didn't have that much, although he got his share. But Shankar was just so, he was like an avadut. And he always made me laugh every time we would talk. And he was the same thing like everybody's saying. He would come up and he would squeeze you. And he would say, Div, you're my dear friend. I love you. And it was just so, I don't know. He always cracked me up. And I miss him terribly. But he's the lucky one. He's with Prabhupada. We're all here stuck with our minds and our senses. But Shankar got away. And I went and visited him many times at the house, and I would bring him a little fruit, or I'd bring him some yogurt. And he'd sit there and he'd go, I don't want to eat it, but thanks for bringing it. And then I would read to him a little bit. And I miss him terribly, but I'm so happy for him. And Prabhu, thank you so much for doing this. This is really ecstatic.
Thank you.
Haribol.
I think that it's time for another video. Do we have another video set up? Here we go. Thank you, Divyangaji. That was
so in
beautiful.
1975, it was Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day, and I was in charge of the kitchen in Bombay. So we were making 108 preparations, for the ceremony. So I made 98 of the 108 preparations. So they were all taken up to Srila Prabhupada, and Gopal Krishna, who was a young brahmachari at that time, he came up to me and said, well, Shankadas, you made all these preparations. You have to come up to Srila Prabhupada and tell him what you made. So I went up with Gopal Krishna, and it was Gopal Krishna, Prabhupada, and myself sitting in the room. And in front of Prabhupada was a table with 108 preparations. So Prabhupada said, what is this preparation? And I told him what it was, and he tasted it. He said, what is this preparation? I told him what it was, and he tasted it. He said, what is this preparation? I told him what it was, and he tasted it. And he said, what is this preparation? I told him what it was, and he tasted it. Then the 5th preparation, he said, what is this preparation? I told him what it was, and he tasted it. And he said, Radharani has prepared this feast. You can go. Wow. And then, I'll tell you a few chastisements that I got, which are pretty significant. Actually, all the pastimes that I had with Srila Prabhupada have a significant meaning to them. Anyways, one day, Mother Palika asked me to go to Buleshwar to buy fruits for Srila Prabhupada. So, I went down to Buleshwar, and I started buying fruits, and then I seen this big pile of oranges. I said, wow, beautiful oranges, Masumbi. So I asked the guy to cut one open, and I tasted it, and it tasted real good, and I figured, wow, these are great. So I bought a whole big bag of oranges for Srila Prabhupada. So I guess it was about 3 days later. I went on a lot of morning walks, and this particular morning walk, it was towards the end of the morning walk, and we were walking, and there was this building, this house on top of this hill at the end of the beach, and the sun was reflecting on the glass windows, and Srila Prabhupada started talking about how the material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world like that. And then he said, who has bought me these oranges? So I immediately go running up all puffed up and thinking, oh God, I'm going to get glorified. And I walked up and I said, Srila Prabhupada, I bought the oranges. And Srila Prabhupada said, those oranges are 10th class, just like you. And then he said the reason the oranges were 10th class is because they would pick them during the ripe season, and then they would put them in refrigerators and bring them out when the off season came, and they would sell them for a high price.
Thank you. Shankar Ki Jai, original personality. How about hearing from Avatar Krishna? Would you like to speak, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you for allowing me to pay some glorification for Shankar Prabhu. He was very dear to me. He taught me how to do service in the kitchen when he was in New. He was in New Vrindavan. I used to go there one way about 3 hours, distance 3 to 4 hours. And when I met him there first time, he told me, and I asked him, "Can I do some service in the kitchen?" He basically told me, "Go wash pots." And I would every month I would go at least once or maybe twice, depending on festival season, multiple times. And every time he would tell me, "Go wash pots." And I would continue to do wash pots the whole time he was cooking. And then one fine day, I don't remember it was a Sunday or it was a festival, he said, "Would you like to fry pakoras?" And I said, "Yes, I would love to if you can teach me how, because I've never done it." And I'd seen my mother, my grandmothers, and everybody else to do that, but I'd never done it myself. So I said, "Yeah, if you teach me." And he taught me. And then after that, it so happened he would keep that service for me. Once I arrived there, he would say, "Okay, get started on this." Since then, I've been doing frying in every temple I've been part of in my travel across the whole country. And when I came to Alachua, it was such a bliss for me, because he hugged me, he talked to me, he taught me a few more tricks of what to do, how to make it right. And this service has been wonderful for me. I miss it every day that I do the service. I just miss it. He taught me how this kitchen was Radharani's kitchen. I have believed in that statement. I find myself in times I can't do it, but then I say to Radharani, "Take care of it." She takes care of it right away. I just miss it. This memorial, this glorification has been so wonderful. I've seen Rohini Mataji come when he was doing service for kitchen. He used to have me take pictures of almost every time he had a new recipe, and I would ask him, "What do you do with these pictures?" And he told me he sends it to his daughter. And he's making his cookbook. He would have me write the recipe on a piece of paper whenever he did that. It was such a wonderful association with him, many different ways that I can't even count what type of opportunity he gave me to serve him as a main cook. And I really pray and hope I can do the service all life long and glorify him in my heart the way he has been my teacher. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's so heartfelt. And with feelings like that, for sure, you will be able to please Krishna and cook for him and follow in your Acharya's footsteps, because Shankar actually is the Acharya cook for many. Thank you so much. That was very beautiful.
That is very true.
Yes. Thank you. I just received something from Nishta, who is one of the young girls in our community. It's very short, and I'd just like to read it. "I'm so grateful for all the service Shankar Prabhu gave my friends and I. He always encouraged me, and I will be forever grateful for that. Those little kitchen services greatly helped my spiritual life. All glories to his lifetime of service." Shankar Prabhu touched all of the youth because he was so genuine. Mukhya said before, he had a young heart. And anyway, I was thinking when for Prabhupada's memorial, when a family loses their father, what do they do? Really, what can they do? They have to take shelter of each other. And that's what Shankar, he experienced that. He showed that the love that we experienced with Srila Prabhupada, we have to love each other. And that will be giving justice to Shankar and to ourselves. Is anyone else left who didn't speak, who would like to speak? If you'd like to speak, please let me know. I think we've come. Vinay Agarwal, are you there?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, would you like to speak something about Shankar? You want to see, maybe we can see your face?
I don't know how to do that. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, that's good too. Hearing is the source. That's
It's
how we get know.
Varuna. It's
Varuna
Varuna.
Ji. Varuna, make it so we can see your lotus face, my darling. Come on, just press the little button on the bottom that says video, stop video and start video. There you're getting close. All right. Well,
I don't know. It's not coming. It's not
okay,
coming.
Don't worry. Don't let's waste time. You just.
But I just want to say a couple of things. You know, I'm also a little cook, or I think I'm a cook. You know, but just recently we helped. There's a few of us. We helped cook the Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day feast about 10 days ago, and a couple of weeks before the feast, we're trying to figure out quantities. And like, if you go to Shankar, he would just tell you right off, okay, how many people are we cooking for? Okay, this is how much you need. And there was like 4 or 5 of us trying to figure out how much ingredients to purchase. And we're giving a list to Mother Mukhya, and Mother Mukhya saying, this is way too much. You guys don't know anything, you know. So anyway, that was, you know, our relationship with Shankar. I could go to Shankar and ask him, you know, I'm cooking for 50 people, so could you tell me? So he would tell me, you know. But the thing that I want to share is for the longest time, I know he was sick, and this is my own lacking. I didn't, I'm very, it's hard for me to see someone passing away. And my wife would say, we travel a lot, and my wife said, we have to go and visit Shankar. And I said, yeah, I know. So I put it off for the longest time. And then Madhumati, my sister, she says, we as a family are going to visit Shankar. Would you like to come? And I said, yes, I want to come. So go. So we went on Sunday or Saturday, the Saturday before he passed away. All of us went, and we got to spend about 45 minutes with him. And we read Krishna book. He gave every one of us a hug, and he was in bed, and he, like Shesha was saying, he opened his arm, and he kept saying, all these wonderful devotees, and he was smiling, you know, and he gave each one of us a hug. We had kirtan, and the thing that on his bed, there was this big new edition of BBT Krishna book. It's a huge, big book, beautiful book. And so we read from that book, and that was his thing, that everyone would read something from the Krishna book. And I just remember, you know, reading, and then we did a little kirtan, and I knew that was the last time I'm going to see him, but it was very special that Krishna let me go there, arrange for me to go and see him. I wanted to, but I'm always reluctant, you know, but Krishna, I'm so grateful that I got that opportunity, and he's just a lovely person. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Avatar Krishna wanted to say one more thing.
Thank you,
Avatar
Mother.
Krishna.
Thank you for allowing me to say. I had visited him at the house he was staying of devotees, and when I met him there, he basically showed me Prabhupada's picture on the window, and he said, "How do you like this picture?" And I said, "Well, it seems like Prabhupada is looking at you." And he says, yes, I do talk to him every day. And my son, who is doing some helping and in a farm with the cows, the devotee who was taking care of, I can't remember the name, but he had given a picture of Prabhupada for Shankar Prabhu to be given. And when I gave it to him, he said, oh, this is the most wonderful picture of Prabhupada that you're giving me. I am so thankful to you that you brought it for me. This is the best gift I've ever received. His wish was to engage younger kids, younger generation of devotees, second, third generation, to come in the kitchen, as Mother Mukhya said. And he would still love, I'm sure, that those younger devotees can come every day, even if he's not there to start learning and getting engaged, as the older generation is definitely going to every even if he's not be in a situation where they will not be able to continue with this older generation. I would really appreciate if all of you who are in this glorification meeting can also communicate that to every younger devotee who is in the family, to see if they can come along and fulfill his wish to be part of the kitchen movement that Prabhupada said this is all about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very beautiful. That's a good message. You could take that up. That's wonderful. And there are a lot of our young people who like very much to cook.
I do chastise everybody who comes around across me for that.
Okay. I'd like to tell one more thing about Shankar. He came to our house, and he and my daughter were very close. And so he came and he gave her his Shiva Linga, because we have a Shiva temple here that my daughter worships Lord Shiva, Vaishnava Namyata Shambhu, as the greatest devotee. So he came and they did a whole puja with Shankar's deity. This was 2 weeks ago. And they bathed the deity, and he let her keep it. And that deity was worshipped for about 200 years by an Indian family. I don't know where he got it, but that was very sweet. He came, and he used to come here often and spend some time with Hita and Jambu, Vishwambar's sister. He really extended himself to our children, which is really a wonderful thing to help them all to feel that their service also does count. So I'm very grateful for Shankar for that. Thank you. So again, here, let's see one last video, or maybe.
Then one time I was asked to make samosas for Srila Prabhupada. So I had this recipe for 5 vegetable samosas. It's a Gujarati recipe. So I grated up all the vegetables and I made this beautiful filling. It took me a long time to make it. And then I rolled out the puris and I flipped over the puris and I made, like, a half moon samosas that were like this big. So I made 35 of them. And I sent them up to Srila Prabhupada. So a couple days went by and I'd seen Brahmananda Swami. He was Prabhupada's secretary. And I said, oh, Brahmananda, how did Srila Prabhupada like the samosas? He didn't touch him. So then Harikesh, he was a brahmachari at that time, we were good friends. He said, well, why don't you come up and cook lunch with Srila Prabhupada with me? So we were cooking lunch, and this Indian gentleman had come before we started cooking and had made this big feast, because Srila Prabhupada was going to have all these guests come over and eat lunch with him. Then this one man, he had made a whole pile of samosas, but they were the little diamond samosas, the little ones that you get here in India. And they were just sitting there on this plate. So me and Harikesh are sitting there, we were just having a good old time, cooking Prabhupada's lunch, and Srila Prabhupada comes walking in the room. We offer our obeisances, and Srila Prabhupada looked at me and he said, did you make these samosas? I said, oh no, Srila Prabhupada, that India I cooked before I was in here came and made them. He says, you don't know how to make samosas, you don't know how to make footballs! And then Srila Prabhupada looked at Harikesh Swami, he looked at me and said, you two are expert in messing everything up. And he walked out of the room smiling, and then I served him his lunch for 2 days in a row. So after a while, I was talking with Lord Krsna one time in the garden, and he said, you know, Shankadas, you're a gardener, so you know you should offer Prabhupada a flower every day. So I became Prabhupada's flower boy. Every time I'd see Srila Prabhupada, I would give him a flower. Sometimes he would touch my hand taking the flower. Sometimes he would grab the flower and, you know, start chastising me, or sometimes he would grab it and he would glorify me. He would glorify the flowers. No, he did, he really did. He said, Mogra is the king of flowers. So I went to Mayapur. Third class, of course, Giriraj was very, you know, reluctant to give anybody, you know, money for anything, so he gave me a third class ticket on a train to Calcutta. And so by the time I got to Calcutta, they stole my suitcase, they stole my shoes. All I had on was a dhoti and a kirtan when I got to the temple. And I was all completely full of dirt from 3 days on the train, because I went the slowest train, you know, and you know, the cheapest way to go. Anyways, I got to Mayapur finally. So they were coming down from the morning walk, and then Bhavananda Swami goes up to Prabhupada and says, oh, Prabhupada, your gardener from Bombay is here. So Prabhupada didn't say anything, and we went on the morning walk, and we were walking around Mayapur, you know, we went to Bhaktisiddhanta's temple, and we were walking back. And so as we were going back, there's this archway before you get, there was only one building in Mayapur at this time, and there was this archway, and you go into the archway, and on the left-hand side, there were some cows. And I didn't know anything about cows, so I went over and started fooling around with the cows, you know, and everyone was going towards the temple. And then maybe about 500 yards before they got to the temple, Prabhupada stops everybody. He turns around and says, Shankar, come here! So I go running up and says, Srila Prabhupada, what would you like? He says, I want you to plant trees on both sides of the road here. So Jayapataka Maharaj, 2 Bengali boys, and myself, we went around digging up coconut trees all over Mayapur, and we planted them down that pathway. And today, those coconut trees are giving coconuts. They survive floods and disasters, and they're still going.
Hi. Hare Krishna. Okay, I saw Dira's name here somewhere. Dira, are you there? Would you like to say something? Okay. Madhurya Leela, I think we'll turn this over to you now.
Actually, there's
my husband would like.
There's following proper Vaishnava tradition. In his final video, Shank has a message that he wanted to share with everyone, so I'm going to play that.
El último video de Chanka para la gente, amor. Míralo.
Oh, silence your phones, silence your, everyone mute so we can hear this. Thank you.
In case, you know, I want to now, with all my heart, I want to say, and please, I want all my friends on Facebook, all the friends that I've met in acquaintanceship with Radha's Kitchen, all the people I've met in Heartwood Sound Studio and venturing out into the world of prasadam distribution, all the souls and living entities that I've come across. If I have in any way offended you, in any way, verbally, mentally, energized, anything, please, I beg you, please forgive me, and I forgive you. Because we're all in the same boat, we all make mistakes, we're all illusions, we all have a cheating propensity, and our senses are imperfect. I can't see behind this wall. So, like that, you know, I just pray that all of you can come to grips with reality, you know. I have to say, you know, I'm a pod, I'm offended the way the second generation was treated and how things transpired, where everything has gone to sweeping under the carpet and stuff. I don't want to criticize, but I forgive everybody. I got compassion now for everything, and I love everybody. But I just have to tell you that I'm a pause. I do not accept it. But like I said, I only giving forgiveness and thanks and forgiveness. You know, Krishna is going to take care of everybody in his own way, because as you all know, karma works in a very mysterious ways. At least we expect it, you know, but at least we know all of a sudden, bam, karma hits us and we fall prey to these miseries that come about by interacting with the modes of material nature. And I only wish that I could tell you how I do it. I really do. I really, my heart, I really wish I could tell you how I'm able to have such clarity and such consciousness, and you know, it's a miracle that, look at me, I'm 73-year-old, my vitals are 107/61. I mean, what is this? I'm dying of cancer. I could go in any time now, you know. It's not like I've got like months or years, you know. I'm talking like weeks or moments, you know. I don't know. So this is why when I want to express my great appreciation for Radha Kun, especially, and PJ and Nadia and the Mars family and the Ricos themselves, all of them taking me in as a grandpa. I never expected that, to have a family down here, a real family. And the Ricos are a real family, they are. And the Badras family, the Seths, they're a real family. I mean, I love them so much, and they understand me so much. And otherwise, if they didn't understand me and if they didn't appreciate me, then why have I been with you for so long? Why have I just been going on and on and on, doing what I do the best? Seva. That's all I want to do, folks. I really don't want to hurt anybody. I really don't want to step on toes. I'm sorry, I'm an empath. You know, I have to apologize for that too, that I let that aspect of my consciousness interfere with a lot of things and cause disturbances with friends and loved ones, you know. But again, I want to say I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, you know. I just want to say I'm sorry.
Jai Sanka Prabhu, Haribol. Thank you, Shankar Prabhu, for setting a high standard of devotional service. Haribol.
Jai, thank you, everyone.
Thank
for
you.
your participation, for glorifying Shankar Prabhu ki jai.
Wait a minute. It's Premananda Gaur. You have to speak right now. You unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see you eating. Don't eat while you talk now. There
Of
you
course
go.
not.
Okay, sweetie. We want to hear what you got to say.
First of all, you know, I am so grateful to be speaking to you, my dear auntie. Your poetry has actually made me cry, and you're a treasure in our life, as well as your husband. You know, I remember when I met you for the first time in Jagannath Puri, you living so austere there for Krishna. I always remember that pizza that we got, and that's like 25 years ago. But anyway, Shankar Prabhu fill our house. I never have a grandpapa, you know, I never have a grandfather. That's why one time I asked Shankar Prabhu if he can adopt us as the grandfather of the Ricos, and he says that of course. And I am just so thankful because by his example, I mean, I work in the kitchen, you know, many years also, and I just have never seen anybody, you know, with the energy and the knowledge. I was just like in awe serving him in the kitchen, the opportunity that I got to serve him. And I was so happy that I got to meet his daughter and his son, and I invited him to my house. And he was so happy, you know, because he knew that was the last time that he was going to be in my place. But I gave him personally a massage. He gave me a picture of Srila Prabhupada. He's just full of love. That he proved to the second generation and to the third generations that it doesn't matter the past. It doesn't matter how much, you know, problems we have in life. We have to have faith in Srila Prabhupada and always, you know, try to be happy, you know, by appreciating what Srila Prabhupada gave us, you know, which is this big family and this knowledge and how to live life and how to depart from this life, you know, in a perfect way like he did. So, I mean, another of our great fortune, you know, thank you for having this meeting. I was not even thinking about joining, but I was so fortunate that my wife, when I came from work, she was listening to it. And of course, I wanted to humbly, ask Shankar Prabhu to forgive any offenses, and all of you too. And to, treasure each other, like Shankar Prabhu make us treasure him. And just spend more time together. I would like to spend more time together with our uncles, and get to hear from you, and just get that nectar, before we leave.
Thank you, sweetie. This is our family. This is what Prabhupada gave us.
We're so fortunate.
We're so fortunate. And Shankar, he is also reminding us this because of his love. Thank you, Premananda.
Yeah, yes, Mata. What? One thing is that, many people win the lotto, and, they feel like super happy with the lotto. But, when we wake up every day, we can actually win the lotto of our life, which is trillions of unconquerable wealth that Srila Prabhupada give us. We're more than trillionaires, so if we live that with that consciousness, then, we can actually, change the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear Prabhujis. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Glory to Shankar Prabhu ki.
Okay.
Haribol.
So I think, Madhurya Leela, did you want to play Bhadra's offering? And let me just ask one more time. Does anyone else, if you have something that you want to say who hasn't spoken yet, now is the opportunity to glorify Shankar Prabhu. I'm not seeing anything, so I think we covered pretty much. And now Madhurya Leela will play a video of Bhadra Prabhu glorifying Shankar. And then you had something else at the end too, Madhurya?
Yeah, then I'll close, yeah.
Okay. Thank you all very much. It was my honor to be part of this. Hare Krishna.
Unless your husband also would like to say something.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Madhurya Leela, and thank you all for your participation. All glories to Shankar Prabhu.
Thank you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Sanka Prabhu, Dandvat, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I don't know, how can I thank?
What happened? Madhurya, it's not playing.
I think when she left, she might have unplugged something.
Oh dear. Okay, wait, everyone stand by. Let's see if we can get, oh God, everything's fading now. Madhurya, stay where you are because the thing got unplugged, we think.
It stopped playing. Yeah, it stopped playing.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, but there's no image.
Oh, because my earbuds died. Okay, so I'll share this.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
By 7 o'clock in the morning.
Now we can hear it.
Okay, good.
Hare Krishna, Sanka Prabhu, Dandvat, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I don't know, how can I thank you for so many services you have done for Rath Yatra. Thank you for cooking the prasadam for Rath Yatra, all the Rath Yatras. I ask you any time to cook prasadam for Rath Yatra, and I ask you to be ready, prasadam ready by 7 o'clock in the morning. You stayed up whole night many times to cook by yourself, which is amazing. I requested for the menu, Swasik Mani, he said, no problem, you will do it, and you had done it because you wanted to please Srila Prabhupada and Lord Jagannath, and you wanted to have the prasadam distributed to all the public. That was your nature. Also, I ask you to come with me to Puerto Rico and San Domingo, where Rath Yatra has started in the beginning. And there were no facilities, in particular in San Domingo. But still, you came with us to both places and you cooked for prasadam for Rath Yatras in those places. I also ask you, how much should I pay you? You were very simple. You said just pay me some for gas money and some little bit. Don't worry about the payment. Just pay to some helpers, which sometimes some helpers help you to cut vegetables. So you have done so much service to Rath Yatra. We're gonna miss you. We will miss you because now to find a place to you, replacing you will be not easy. But at the same time, I'm happy that you didn't suffer much. Up to the end, you were conscious, and then you started not responding, and you left this mortal world on the auspicious day of Govardhan Puja in the morning. I'm sure you are with Srila Prabhupada and somewhere with Lord Jagannath, somewhere in the spiritual world, sure, because you have dedication to Lord Jagannath and Srila Prabhupada, to serving prasadam to the devotees. You were a very simple-hearted person. You were no complex and there's no complexity, just simple. And I would give you the menu and you would write the ingredients, and sometimes you said just, I will buy the ingredients, and you would just buy the ingredients. So you were practically doing everything as far as prasadam is concerned, which is very glorious, very glorious. So I'm grateful to you for serving. For serving the prasadam and cooking. For cooking. I'm sure all the devotees are very pleased with your services to Rath Yatra. Thank you. Thank you for everything. And wherever you are, I'm sure you are in a good place. You are in a good place because you are for your dedication to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for everything again. And wherever you are, please request them that also I can be also join in the future. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Just FYI, Badra's birthday is also on Govardhan Puja. So that was a nice offering by him. I just wanted to say a little bit about Shankar Prabhu. I had many interactions with Shankar Prabhu over cooking feasts in our big kitchen in Alachua. Years ago, he wanted me to give my recipe for handva to him, which I gave him. And being a chef, he adjusted it to how he liked it. Beginning in May of this year, Shankar Prabhu and I talked a lot when he was initially made a hospice patient. He wanted to tell me all about his diagnosis and doctor's appointments because he felt I could relate to all the medical stuff. I also did his intake interview for the end of life care Alachua group that we have. In that interview and subsequent conversations, he told me about his family and service and expressed to me his desires of how he wanted to leave this material world. All those desires were fulfilled by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, the devotees, and Yogeshwar, as Shankar Prabhu liked to refer to his Krishna. And Yogeshwar certainly took care of him by taking him on the auspicious day of Govardhan Puja. As we know, Giri Govardhan is easily pleased and fulfills all desires. So Shankar Prabhu's desire was to join Srila Prabhupada so that he could continue his service to him. He will certainly be missed, and I would like to thank him for setting a wonderful example of how to leave this material world. And even more important, his love and devotion to the second and younger generations was exemplary. They felt his personal touch and love, and they reciprocated with their love and attention to him when he needed it the most. My loving hugs and obeisances to them all. Thank you. Now, in closing, on behalf of the End of Life Care Alachua group, I would like to thank Dhruva Maharaj Das and Samapriya Prabhus for hosting this program. Thank you also to all of you who attended and spoke, especially Giriraj Swami, Rohini, and her family. Our prayers are with you through this difficult time. Thank you to Vaishnavi Dasi for technical support. I want to give a special thanks to Hamsa and his family and his parents, Damayanti and Jai Gopal Prabhus, for setting a stellar example of how to take care of Vaishnavas in a very personal and loving way. Shankar Prabhu told me personally that he felt loved and cared for in their hands. He was so appreciative of their love and affection. He said he couldn't have asked for anything more. His Yogeshwar made the perfect arrangement, he said. Srila Prabhupada said in a conversation in Hawaii on the 24th of April, 1969, he said, if we glorify the devotees, the character of the devotees before the Lord, he is more pleased than glorifying himself. And in the Bhagavatam 10.1, Advent of Lord Krsna introduction, Prabhupada says, glorifying the devotee is more important than glorifying the Lord directly. Well, thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and to Shankar Prabhu. And just stay tuned for this last little clip. We have
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.